What's up, guys? In today's episode, we're really excited because we have Jay from Jay's Way here critiquing print-on-demand designs live on camera. So if you are somebody that's personally struggling with trying to understand designing, or you feel like designing is holding you back in your print-on-demand business, we are going to be, like I said, critiquing listings live on camera and showing you how to turn C and maybe even B grade listings and really turn them into the A++ listings that make you a lot of sales. Without further ado, let's get into the live training. All right, guys, and without further ado, we have Jay from Jay's Way here, the master of print-on-demand designs. He's going to be here live helping us master the art of designing for print-on-demand. So Jay, what are some of your top tips, some of your top design tips to just put you on the spot right off the bat?
Yeah, no pressure, right? Um, Starting at the beginning, it's going to be clarity and readability, right? Like you talk a lot sometimes about, legibility, and that is like being able to actually decipher letters and to read what the words mean, the definitions of the words and how they work in a sentence. But readability is the kind of like the digestibility of a design. And you want that to be done at a glance so that people are not, clicking into your listing to maybe have a zoomed in view, and then potentially tanking your conversion rate if it's not something they like. And I'll throw back to something I've said before, right? If you're going to suck in big, bold, so that people won't go click on it. Worst case, if you have ad spend on it, right? Because now you're paying for that click. Otherwise, I'd say contrast and hierarchy for sure. So get well versed with text, because text-based designs will have and will always sell. Like there's no way around that. You can have some with just imagery too, but most of the sellers out there are either going to be text-based or, something text with an image, or just text alone. So learning how to structure the hierarchy, like directing somebody's eye from, naturally we read from left to right. So being able to kind of like bring them in like a Zorro formation, or have it kind of scaled down, or have certain parts of the text-based design, for example, bolded or in a different font that would draw your eye or draw attention to in an order to lead them around, right, where you want to go intentionally. Think of it like, putting, as nerdy as it sounds, it was one of my dad's sayings. He was an English teacher, and it was like saying putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, right, if that makes sense. So it's like you want to at least put the right emphasis in a visual way on the right visual syllable or element, right? Otherwise, like balance and alignment, another big one. Stick to simplicity. I think simplicity and focus are probably two of the biggest ones, because everybody tries to jam too much. So everyone's watching all these YouTube videos, all the things, right? We got coquette bows, we got the teacher niche stuff with a pencil in the shape of a bow, and then words all around it. And like everybody and their sisters, aunts, uncles, and brothers are telling you to do all this stuff. And now we're seeing like designs that are incorporating all of it. If you're the first to market with that, you could have a potential, a really kick A kind of design and just see sales to the moon. But if you're the 10,000th viewer of those videos, like your iterations, what are you going to have to do to bring something different to that table for people to want to choose yours over the other 9,999 that have already been out there and potentially have sales velocity? So now you're stuck competing in areas that I hate, which are price and things like that, right? You're going to be spending a ton on ad spend, and you're going to be sacrificing your bottom line, because the race to the bottom a lot of the time feels like the only way to compete when you're one of 10,000 plus, right? Color intentionality. So with your fonts and your color palettes, branding is a big one for me. So you want to be able to limit your, so it's research first, right? You want to create designs that you've proven demand for, and then you want to present them properly, because you can absolutely tank a design by not showcasing it properly, like we talk about zoom in. But then it's like also, packaging it all and having brand cohesion ultimately. So you want to be able to limit your mock-ups, for example, to maybe, pick a store and buy their whole shop mock-up kind of package. Make sure they're, human based. So that way you can actually just stick with like 3 or 4 of the same one, and you'll probably know that, you'll recognize that when they add more to their shop, they're going to add more in the same vein. It's going to kind of have the same kind of cohesion, right? You look at these mock-up shops and they're super branded out, right? That's the idea. You want to take something like that. It keeps you kind of on this, keeps the blinders on. It keeps you kind of in a path where you're not going to stray left and right off these arteries. You're going to stay on the main artery. You're not going to, go on tangents. That said, I would also say stick to 3 to 5 fonts that you can carry through the bulk of your design, so it doesn't look like a mishmash of just random scrapbook designs. And then the color palette's the same way. Like, keeping it kind of streamlined will just make your shop feel branded out. And I cringe when I hear people say, like, people only go to your shop based on a listing level. They see you in search results and that's it. They're not clicking on your shop. Well, I and many in my membership have multiple repeat customers. One of our, mutual friends, right? Carla, she'll tell you, like, she has conversations with her customers. Stacy, my wife, same thing. They come back and they buy more. They become your brand ambassadors. And I'm not saying, these are paid influencers. They just truly resonate with your brand, your story, your brand values, and they are genuine in their want to promote your stuff. So, like, if you're making designs where people say, holy crap, where'd you get that shirt? And they're around, obviously, people that are like-minded in their, circles. If it's, in my wife's case, it's big dogs. In Carla's, it's, a religious community. People are going to laugh. They're going to, it's going to evoke some emotion. Where'd you get it? Well, they're going to share, and then they're going to go and they're going to buy more. So ultimately, being able to have more than one option for a specific ideal customer, I think, is just going to lend itself well. If you're streamlined and everything's branded properly, you're going to speak to them in a way that they're going to be able to buy 2 or 3 items from your shop, maybe at the same time. Best case scenario, they come back again. As you know, with the ad spend and stuff, it's way cheaper to have a repeat buyer than it is to acquire that customer the first time around, right? So I'd say those are probably the biggest ones, right? The clarity, the hierarchy and balance when it comes to design, and then the being intentional about everything you do with your shop. And this is one of the trainings we're doing in my membership coming up next week too, is about designing with intention, right? So have that ideal customer in mind as part of the niche. In that niche, you can have several ideal customers, but then make sure that the target audience, there's something for all of those elements within that kind of umbrella, I guess, if you want. So loaded question, but long answer.
No, I love it. The biggest things that I think just stood out to me and what I love about that method, one is that, one, just down to the very thing about you said about fonts, like, choose a handful of fonts, like, you know what I mean? Especially, I think on our last call, you even pointed that out. It's like, even doing, like, if you're brand new and trying to do multiple fonts on one single shirt is like, that's like a very advanced to get that right. Like, really just limit yourself. Same thing with your color scheme, right? If you have the same thing, if you are going to design the interior design of your house, like, a true interior designer is going to go to Home Depot. They're going to go pick out colors from the color palette wall of paint, and they're going to make the textures and the furniture and all the accents in that home follow this one palette. So then when you walk from the bathroom to the kitchen to the living room, right, it feels like a cohesive house. And it's like the same thing that you want to feel when you walk in your house, or if you walk in a physical store like Victoria's Secret or Nike, like, it's an identifiable brand vibe. Sorry, that really stood out to me. And then I really liked what you mentioned about, so can you explain a little bit more? You said that you were helping your students basically tackle down like your customer avatar, and then what would feed into that. Like, I never even heard someone teach like that. So I think that's really, really cool, because even myself, I get really confused about when I talk to print on demand sellers, because I'm handmade. So it's like, it's very clear for me. It's like, I have one product that attracts one customer avatar. If I want to attract another customer avatar, I just launch a different product in a different category. But print on demand is a little bit strange, because it's still technically the same product type, but it could be for many different customer avatars. So I guess what you're saying is, like, you are giving people a roadmap to basically say, you're predetermining before you go to market and stress yourself out. Okay, here's our brand. Here is the potential different customers, right? Like, you're kind of building like a tree of like all the different people that you can potentially go after, and you're determining that before you go to market, because that is something I feel like people don't plan, and then they get really overwhelmed because they're like, they could pick up so many different stones
at one time. So I think that's really, really cool, really valuable. You have one of the best communities in terms of print on demand, teaching design, which is the number one thing that every seller has struggles with before anything else, right? It's your designs that make you money. And that's like the bulk of the reason, I would say 80% of the reason, obviously, you're getting that click. So really helpful stuff. All right, now we're going to move into doing actually some live listing critiques. And some of these critiques we just found, and then some of them, we're going to put you on the spot again. Some of them are actually submissions from my community. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I just want you to go to town. I want you to analyze some of these listings and tell me what you would change. Let's start with this one. Down to anything, SEO, pricing strategy, menu, images, all that stuff.
This one, I think, looking at this, like with zero previous inclinations here, men's graphic tees, mountain collage, nature t-shirt, men unisex mountain theme. So these keywords are super general. There's nothing that, speaks to hiking. We can probably look at their tags if you're using, Everbee or eRank or something to that effect. And using that, I don't even see hiking in there. They have nature shirt, nature tees, cycling shirt, cloud shirt. These are not words that I think, as somebody who would be into the outdoors or mountains, would be typing into a search bar, right? So starting there, it's like, who is it you're targeting? Who is a cloud shirt wearer, right? And I don't even see clouds in the design, right? So ultimately, like, speaking to the design. Otherwise, there's a couple of things here. Like, I don't feel the contrast is enough on this type of shirt. It's kind of minimalist, but you've got the grit of the mountain, and then you've got a distressed element on this golden frame that is showing through the mountain on the right side, but not on the left. So if you can kind of zoom in on that. You'll see on the right side, you can see the mountain showing through, but it's not on the left side. So it's, you've deleted too much of the background. You're probably using an AI background remover. These are kinds of things that, I'd be able to teach you and walk you through how to do this properly. And then you've got these like minimalist geometric shapes, these circles there that are they supposed to be the clouds, but they're very, they're clean. They're not distressed. It doesn't look like. It's kind of hard to tell. But I feel like they conflict with the design in its entirety, right? So for me, to make this better, I would probably get rid of the box and the circles, and maybe, I would probably just get rid of all that together. You could leave a moon and actually maybe throw some clouds on there if that's the intended person. The other keyword is in there was cycling. Does this look like anywhere you could plausibly cycle, right? Probably not, right?
So, wow, I didn't even, so this is how you know you're a real designer, because I would never even catch that. But that's what happens when you're like talking to a real designer. Like, that's the stuff, that's the difference between you and me, and the level of detail that you notice versus me. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think it, like, taking out the random, I guess geometric, but yeah, back to your point, it's like, who are you really targeting, right? Like, are these actual mountains? Like, maybe there's a mountain range that hikers or cyclists actually cycle, and it's like an identifiable mountain, and maybe that's that mountain, and that's the value proposition. But like exactly what you said, it's like, it's just kind of random, and like, who are you actually speaking to? What is,
like, if this is a famous mountain range, put it in there, right? Like, people are searching for those landmark things, those touristy elements. They visited somewhere and they forgot to get the shirt, or they were all out of their size. You're giving them an option to kind of like capture this memento, this moment, right, in their life from previous. And maybe they wouldn't have thought that they'd have a second chance at copping the shirt, but here you are offering it to them. But no one's gonna, if they're searching Grand Canyon, like, I don't know too many of the big mountain ranges in the States, but Mount Everest or wherever you are, the Himalayas, whatever, like, that's what people are going to be searching for, right? Like a specific mountain range. And if you're just alluding to the cycling kind of thing, there's a lot of things here, right, to unpack. Like, if you're cycling down a mountain, you're probably, if you do your own laundry, you're probably not wearing a light colored shirt, right? If this is something you're going to be wearing, because it's going to get filthy. Lots of little things, right? Like that. I just consciously, when I'm looking at a design and how I would think of somebody wearing this, doing the thing that they love and why they're buying it. So I'd probably go with a darker shirt. I'd probably go with a lighter design. But yeah, that lots to unpack there. And then the looks like we have, in terms of pricing on top of everything, not outrageous. I would absolutely be running a sale though, at least part way. What are we charging? So free shipping. So they're rolling their pricing in. I would, charge the $5 or $5.95 for shipping, and then drop your initial price point, the customer facing price point. You're not actually competing on pricing in that end, but if people are filtering by a certain amount, then at least you're going to show there. You can, and the goal with the sales is not just to, entice the buyers, but it's also to entice by way of showing up in search results, because if they filter by on sale, even if you don't have a specific entire shop sale, you can still have, like, if you have a buy two, save $25, like a sale based on the quantity, then you will still show up in search results if they've got that, on sale box ticked, right? So leverage all the free marketing that Etsy gives you, right? And I mean, yeah, like maybe another color option here might help, one or two. I wouldn't, implore you to list anything above and beyond 5 colors, because decision fatigue or analysis paralysis is real. But give them an option here, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on for days on this.
One thing I just caught here as you're explaining that is, I think they're trying to use this moment as a value proposition. So high contrast mountain range, locked up with some geometric elements with some overlapping and layering to create an eye-catching design of colors and mountain peaks, printed front and center with soft. So you're trying to sell this uniqueness as the value proposition, whereas I would say, like, to Jay's point, right, like a stronger play or a stronger value proposition is like likely no one's going to understand the value of this design, like, oh, it's a unique design, more so than going the direction of actually using an identifiable location or something like that. Because as much as, like, maybe you as a designer think this is cool, but like for the masses, or what is the actual, like, this doesn't actually, to me, scream like value, right? Versus an identifiable place, or you have the mountain range, and then, they could put their data visited on XYZ date, right? Like that's a true value proposition, versus like a random kind of, you're highlighting this as if this brings that person value, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And the way it's composed on the shirt, it's more like an afterthought, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Feel like,
what do you think of the main image?
Boring.
Nothing.
I would have, there's not enough contrast. Like we talk about contrast too, right? I would have a darker background if you're going to showcase a lighter shirt. So at least it pops off the page and it doesn't kind of, you run the risk of, in this case, there's a little bit of contrast there, but it's not enough, in my opinion, to stand out on a page of search results, right? Make it pop. So have it a dark background so that shirt just jumps off the page. Yeah, but I would also probably have zoomed in a little bit on this design in that initial image, because it is so detailed. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're going to showcase the features or speak to them. But even that, like, I'm, again, the son of the English teacher, you got, after that first line in the description, which gets indexed by Google, the first 2 lines, you want to make sure that you're keyword heavy on those so that people see it in search results on Google. But the next sentence of that paragraph is like, what, 6 lines long? It's you can't read it without running out of breath visually, in a way, right? So break it up. It's a run-on sentence ultimately.
Got it. Oh, you're talking about this one here?
No, the description.
Oh, in the description here. Oh, I see.
Yep.
I see.
The first line's a sentence. The second, from this outdoor, the second line is it's a whole paragraph of one sentence.
Got it.
The other thing is, like, give them a size chart, at least in the second image, so that they know what they're looking at. Second or third image tops, right?
Okay.
You saw a size chart in there? I didn't see one. Oh, there it is. Tiny.
Down. Yep. And then also, do you have any recs? It looks like they have pretty straightforward options here. So no, like you already said, color options. If this is a print on demand, you can obviously offer different colors, but also different like I don't know if that's something that if you teach or agree with, but like having like different options. So like a shirt, a hoodie. I wouldn't do it with this design, but if you edited this design, then yes. Like
Absolutely. I'd offer crew necks for sure and hoodies, probably, right? Speaking specifically to crew necks are a no-brainer, but speaking to the, the specificity of this design, the mountains, the hiking, all that, camping, potentially the outdoorsy, you're going to want probably a hoodie at some point, right? It just would make sense, I think. Yeah, and I absolutely do and encourage like offering multiple products with the same design. It's better than having 3 different products in your shop all with the same design, right? It's confusing to the customer, especially if they're detailed and you zoomed in. They don't know what they're looking at. If it's a t-shirt or whatever, make it obvious, right?
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's do this one. So this one actually is doing a lot of really good things. I don't know. I couldn't really find too much. This is the Easily Distracted by Wieners. I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know.
It's funny. This is fun.
I feel like this is really good. I feel like the pricing is right. The daily sale, their drop down menu has hoodie, crew necks, and shirts all in here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like what I'm seeing. You got several color options here. I might tone it back, but whoever's shop this is, that whatever colors are selling are the ones that you obviously want to keep. What I've found typically though is the ones that you present the design on. So the first image is typically what you'll sell more of than anything else, because it's resonated already for them to click on it, and they've already kind of almost fell in love with that color, what they're seeing, right? So very seldom will you see, I can't say very seldom, but more often than not, they're going to choose that main image that you have first. Design wise, I think it looks cool. It's cute. It makes sense. It's simple. The only thing that scares me with DTG here is the solid blocks of inks. So I might introduce a little bit of distressing or something, not overly, but just to mitigate the potential, disgruntledness from a customer, because on a crew neck sweater, you're going to have a little bit more of imperfections from the print process, right? You'll have fibers showing through, especially with white. It's a thicker, it's opaque. You need the pre-treat there. It's going to potentially, if they hadn't pressed the garment and dried the pre-treat or cured the pre-treat enough, the white ink won't stick as beautifully as it should, and you'll see fibers popping up through, right? So just to kind of like intentionally distress it a little bit will make it look like it's, it'll hide the imperfections ultimately, and I think that would be a pretty quick win. Looking at the I really like the see, this is great. The second or third image here, I'm looking at it's got hug me. You're speaking to the Valentine's seasonality of the element, but it's not, you haven't changed your initial image, but it's just when you come across that, it just kind of hits. The promise slide is great. I like seeing that. Nice big icons, right? You got the shopping and you got the shipping. It's, it speaks to the order. Even if you didn't read it, you kind of have an idea of what's going on there. You got the social proof with the review in there. I might darken the top banner into all that same color and make that review across the top all white. If you go it's the one right before the pink and yeah, that one. I would make that banner right there dark and make that text white so it just jumps off the page. But I like what you did too about keeping from the nose up, because as humans, we're drawn to people's eyes and it's distracting. So if you're going to showcase somebody's face, always make sure that they're at least looking away, but not straight ahead, right? Away or up. There's a psychology there too. And, but it's always safe if you cut from the nose up. You still kind of get the aesthetic, the vibe, and it looks good. So I do like it. I would just, I wouldn't change the design necessarily, other than to potentially intentionally distress it a little bit. But it looks good. It's fun.
One thing that I caught, but First of all, I just learned a whole bunch of stuff just then. So thank you for all that. I didn't know any of that. One thing I caught in the menu that is, so if there's any potential for confusion, you're just like more at high risk of like losing the sale. Not that this is that much confusion, but just something to keep in mind. Like, you have military. So first you have green. So exactly like what you just said, like that main color is the reason they click. So that's probably going to make a lot of the sales, right? But you have 2 green options without linking what that actually is. So like, what is the difference between military green and forest green? Oh, okay. Well, you do say it here, but I had to like look for that. Like I just spent the last like 2 minutes trying to find, do you have a color palette thing here, like a color palette image that explains. So I see that you have it here now, but it was a little bit hard for me to find. So military green is that. Do we have something that says what the other one is? I'm sorry, that's forest green. Do we have something that tells us what military green is? Just because it was a little bit confusing for me, and just any confusion can cause drop off because you really only have every single second that they're there. It's like you want to try to convert them as fast as possible. And if they get confused, you're just increasing that risk. So having some sort of color palette would be good. And then the other thing is, this is obviously a really cool design. And if you haven't, or we don't know if you have or haven't, but split testing this same thing, but with just different colors to validate that this is the winning color. Maybe it's actually, this one, right? Which I don't know. We didn't go into your shop and investigate that, but if you haven't done that, like I would split test this. I don't know, Jay, if you agree with that, but I would even split test it, maybe with the tan, and then also again with the white, and then maybe even the black. Is that something that you would say maybe?
Yeah, I'd probably go with like a higher contrast between the visuals, right? So stick with your green or your navy, and then or the maroon, whichever, the first 3 that you saw there, and then the other one I would probably do on maybe like an ash or something, because the reason is I wouldn't go with the sand is because you got a dog, you got a Doxy or, a Dachshund or Wiener, whatever you want to call it. Dogs shed. And if you're wearing white or any light color, you're going to be covered in the darker fur, right? So the only way you can kind of limit how bad that fur shows up, and you guys all know what I'm talking about, as pet owners, right, is to use an ash or a sport gray that has the flecking in it, which may hide some of the fur that's on the shirt. Otherwise, you're going to be, you won't wear a white one. It's probably the least popular one that you're selling, unless they're walking their dog out in public somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would contrast, show the dark one and then show one on a lighter color.
Awesome.
For sure. And yeah, you know what? Link to your colors, right? If you can help it. If you're only going to show on crew necks, but you're offering everything else, at least link your photos to the color choices so that when they pick them, they can, decipher through, right? Oh, it's working for you. It's not working for me.
Huh. This one, it's doing it on some of them, but some of them.
Oh, you're in the t-shirt one. It is.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Let's see.
Yeah. So for t-shirts, it's working, but not for.
Yep. For the other ones.
Well, some of them.
Yeah.
Some, but not all. Okay. Yeah. Figure that out. And one thing I'll suggest here is, like, to Hannah's point, have the color palette there, and anyone that you don't have a mock-up for, you can just link that to that color choice, right? So at least they'll see the whole color palette and they can read for themselves.
Yes. Cool. All right, let's go into the next one. So this one, we're switching it up a little bit. This is a blanket. Scandinavian style. This looks like really, I feel like this is a super trending pattern. But let's see, what do you have to say about this one?
Right off the bat, not nearly enough contrast. It doesn't jump off like that initial image, right? Is what you're going to, get people to click on. I'd probably maybe zoom in a little tighter, but best case scenario, or at absolute least, darken the background so that it pops off. Maybe even lighten the image, but darken the background so that you can kind of see at a glance. It sort of gets lost. You know what I mean? Do you think the same? It kind of like not enough contrast there, right?
And definitely, just like if you were like here, it's like, it looks like a good image, but it's like in comparison to like your competition in the search pages, it definitely is like a little bit dark here. and just, yeah, blending in back here. But, you know, always subject to test. I almost kind of would like to test it with this, but like zoomed in more. I don't know. Or what other one, or even this one, I feel like.
That looks awesome. I was just looking at that too. And I also think the on your video, so if you go to the video, it'll show like the weaving, which is great, but you could even take a still, you'll see, of the woman holding her arms up with the blanket in 2 seconds coming up. I think. Yeah, right there. You could take a still of that and then darken that, right? Because that looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a good, you know, sense of the size as well without just looking at a couch or a bed. You could try a couple of things, right? But I even like it on the wall as a tapestry sort of thing. But
I would almost make this the beginning of the video too, instead of the other one.
Yeah, I agree.
I still like the weaving, but I would make this almost the start of the video. Because that's like really big value, and that looks really good.
I agree. The design itself, though, looks great. I wouldn't probably change too much there. You don't want to, like, you know, to what you had said before, is something that I've kind of said to everybody is, you know, limit the color palette, limit the font choices, because the more you try to jam in there, right, less is always more. But you need to be more artistically educated to make sure that you can do it all in a way that looks tasteful and looks good, right? So, yeah, I think the design looks good, and it probably would make like a really good end result as a woven blanket too. Like, I think the colors look great.
I think this looks great. That looks really great, cohesive.
Yeah, it all feels definitely branded and cohesive. So the massive plus there. But just that main image, I might revisit and then give it a little more, punch. Test it and test with the still of the lady holding it up too.
Another keyword for something like this, I feel like, I don't know, maybe, I mean, they're probably better, but I feel like cottage, would this fall into cottage decor, cottage core? I don't know if that keyword is in here, but I don't know. Or I guess it's more Scandinavian, maybe not more cottage, but whimsical.
It wouldn't hurt to have cottage core in there. I mean, you're out especially if you darken up the imagery potentially. There's a, you know, she's got woodland animal in there. The rustic Scandi decor, I think, is a big one. So it's good you have that. Dala, I've never heard of, so I don't know what that is, but there's not a lot out there. She's got Dala horse. Is it a kind of horse? Do you know what that is? I have no idea.
Dala horse. I don't know.
Dala horse, fox birds. I would put punctuation in there, at least break it up visually with a comma, like where it makes sense. Because you're not going to exact match if there's no commas there anyway. Yes, you will broad match kind of thing, but it's kind of like, it's, you know, still a bit of a run on there, right? Visually, the readability, I think.
Whimsical. Yeah, all of that.
Valentine might be something I'd throw in my tag, but I wouldn't put it in the title unless it's literally a Valentine's design. Yes, there's a heart on it, but does that constitute Valentine's, right? I wouldn't just, because then you're at risk of ruining something if it's working, right? If you change that now to Christmas or to, you know, whatever seasonal trend, you never want to screw around, as you know, with the SEO, right? If it's working, don't break it. So gift for more, is MOR something?
Gift for more.
Maybe it's Scandinavian. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like it might have been a little rushed.
One other idea, which I don't know how it would get pulled off because I'm not the designer, but I feel like this borderline could fall into baby blanket, or I don't know. I could be wrong on that one, but
it's cute enough. Yeah.
Cute enough, but it would be like, and then if you did a personalization thing where there was like a, I don't know, a badge where like you could put in a clear personalization request with a name. I don't know how that would manifest, but I feel like maybe if it was done right with the right font, it could kind of manifest into a baby blanket. But you would have to pull it off with the font and the design.
And you got a ton of blankets in here. Yeah. And looking at the banner, I just zoomed out to the shop there. I would probably put some of your most recent woven blankets, at least one image up there in the banner. And then looking at the front page of the shop, I feel like the contrast element is a thing there too.
Mm. Okay, with more things.
Yeah, if you click on Timeless Boho, like on our shop name there, you'll see like there's just a little bit of a lack of contrast. It feels like
Mm.
you can lighten the product itself and then darken the backgrounds a little bit, and just to make them kind of stand out a little more.
Yeah,
But
just a little bit with lighten it a little bit. Yeah, overall looks really good, really good.
but yeah, definitely on the right track here. I like
The
the
vibe.
design, the whole. I think you got the Scandinavian thing
Mm.
on lock here. It's kind of cool. I haven't seen like somebody do as much of it yet. So
Yeah, and do it well. So
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's go to this last one here. We have something that says literally me and a wolf. I like this font. I feel like this is very what is that? YTK I don't know. What is that new thing with like all the young, I don't know. Anyway, Y2K, is that a thing?
yeah, Y2K. Yeah.
Sort of vibes. So kind of interesting. It got 6 views in the last 24 hours, so it actually has a badge. Let's see what happens if we add it to cart. If it it's in, nope, it's not anyone's cards, but it is, Etsy's giving it a views badge.
It's got a
Go ahead.
truckload of favorites. It looks like it's sold a fair amount, but I feel like they're driving out external traffic, because I'm not seeing like it's got like a 1% conversion rate. So it's got a ton of views, right? So the views are coming from somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, might be external traffic. This could probably be coming from, I don't know if that wolf is actually, this could be maybe trademark if this is coming from a video game or something. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to, what does it say?
French clothing.
Oh, it's from a meme. So maybe there's a meme going around or something on social
Okay,
media.
then that could do it. Yep.
Maybe mentally where I'm at.
Dissonant shop. Like otherwise, it's almost like if I'm looking at the entire shop, so that it's they're just going with this entire minimalist vibe, so it might work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So this is like an example where like, white background photography normally isn't what does it, but because it's like that is their vibe, it's like a meme shirt, it's supposed to be satirical and dark and whatever. It's kind of like working. You're saying?
I think it kind of works just because they're at least being consistent with it, right?
Mhm.
But that particular design needs to be larger on the shirt for sure. And again, zoomed in, right? Like you can't really see it. You can't really make out the details of the wolf right away.
Right.
If you know the meme, then maybe you know what you're looking at. But even like the one below it, me and who. For you, it's the third one in, I think. There's just not enough contrast with the design on the shirt without looking at it, and
Right.
these are all memes, and maybe they make sense, but it's they're not what. Because imagine everybody every time looking at this on their phone, right? Ultimately,
Right. It's just hard to see what you're looking at. But yeah, this is definitely interesting case where it kind of makes sense, but definitely room for improvement. I mean, they've had 1,300 sales on only 39 listings, and their shop is pretty young.
year, 2 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to do the meme thing, you're going to be chasing them. If you list more, you'll sell more, especially if you're chasing memes and trends that way, right? But you're going to want to stay on top of it all. And I feel bad about going down the the trend path, only because it's a recipe for burnout, because you're never going to be able to stay on top of something unless you're perpetually online, wherever all the funniest memes are going to be just shared or displayed, right? It's a lot of work. But I'm looking at some of these. I'm not afraid of work, but I like to work a little smarter than harder, right? Nobody needs 3,000 listings in their shop.
It's funny. But yeah, I think even just like the lowest hanging fruit, like we said, I feel like it would be just like lightening making it bigger and like lightening it a little bit, I guess, like lighting it so you can see.
Yeah, so it shows off on the shirt, right? Because it's kind of it's hard to digest what's out there, that readability element.
And then obviously We can add a video. We could go a little bit crazier. Same thing with the drop down menu, have different variation options. So crew neck, hoodie. I feel like there's probably not that many different colors you would do with this. Like black is kind of your thing you're going for, but
Yeah, the black, the pepper.
Mhm.
It looks like it's a comfort colors, even though there's no tag there.
Mhm.
Oh, and it says Bell & Canvas 3001. This looks like a comfort color shirt. So just, you're setting yourself up for potentially some disgruntled customers that are looking at your description. It says Bell & Canvas 3001. So if you're not actually selling the Bella, then, make sure that you, and your size chart shows a Bella as well. But that's, definitely not a Bella in your mock-up. That's also one of Etsy's terms of service that you're going to want to get on board with, is accurately depicting what the end customer is going to have when they get that package.
Okay, so you're saying this is a Comfort Colors mock-up, but then he's saying it's a Bella?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
It's misrepresented for sure.
All right, we don't want to do that. Okay.
No.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, this has been super valuable. I mean, I just learned a whole bunch of stuff as well. This has been really fun, and I just want to say thank you so much, and hopefully we can get you back on here soon. And yeah, guys, maybe even below this video, if you want to get one of your listings reviewed, comment the link down below, and we will put that in our pool for maybe the next time we do this or the next live we do, if Jay would like to come back.
That'd be fun. We should do a live, and then we can just, kind of go through. I just did this in my membership too. Had 10 or 12 shops, and we spent 4 minutes, like quick first impressions, bang, 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 right? And it was like in a group environment. So it was kind of a cool, fun thing where we had the community kind of comment on it, and they held off all their comments and didn't hit enter until I was done the 4 minutes, and then they hit enter. So that chat is still saved, right? But it's just way more fun to get the community involved. So live would be a lot of fun, actually.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Well, let's get it on the calendar.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Jay. Bye-bye.
Adios. Take care.